respective spheres who have assembled here today. It's a privilege and honor that elites with whom I happen to be associated for quite some years through my friend Dr. Ravi Gupta, Sarvesh, who are not here, have given me an opportunity to interact with you. This is a segment where there hasn't been much interaction. There hasn't been a platform as such for a government officer to interact much. With this segment, we people get bogged down with our school education, the schools run by the state and the local authorities. I'm not the one who would cynically like to bring down a relatively high cost quality education institutions simply on the plea that the government schools don't have these facilities. I would rather endeavor to upgrade the government schools to the levels which the private schools can invest in infrastructure and technology and in all aspects of educational management. Both have to go together. Both have to do well. That's my philosophy. It's not one against the other. So there are no biases. It's unfortunate that a large population cannot afford very high cost education. It's the same as they cannot afford very high cost medical facilities. But that doesn't mean that we close the super specialty hospitals in the private sector, because our own hospitals are neither adequate nor sufficiently equipped. So we have to improve them rather than pulling down the leaders. Now, so far as e-learning is concerned, so far as the leadership challenges are concerned, of course, they are tremendous. One doesn't know where to start, particularly in a developing country like India, where the economy is evolving and societally, not only the individuals, parents, families, and the entire society is evolving. The challenges are tremendous because I personally feel that the world is moving faster than us and we have to keep pace. In my view, the first challenge is the management of teaching content, the curricular challenge. Are we moving fast enough in providing a futuristic and relevant curriculum, or are we getting tied down to a curriculum designed 50 years back and being improved through peripheral improvements only? Do we go in for a drastic change, or do we go for a slow reformatory evolution? If we go in for a drastic change, there are institutions who do not have the wherewithal to mold themselves according to the changed requirements imposed upon them by the drastic change. But there are institutions which can, like yours, which can really respond very quickly to the change and equip themselves to the changing times. Unfortunately, the curriculum by and large has to be the same. If not identical, almost similar. There can be an exception, but exceptions cannot be very widespread. So within the four corners of adaptability, doability, first challenge to my mind is the management of curriculum. There are subjects which are getting reduced to pure academics, and there are subjects which have invaded the new world and provide knowledge and education which is required to be the world leaders of the future. For example, I'll give you one example in this direction. About 15 years back, I was Principal Secretary of Medical Education. At that time, our universities were not running courses, post-graduations or MBAs in hospital management, which was there for the last 20 years, 30 years in America and other countries. I wrote to all the vice chancellors, downloaded the kindly start this. There's a huge potential, a huge private health sector is coming up. You would need them. We were lucky. It took about 3 years. There's always a gestation period to any good proposal. And I think most of the universities and institutions of higher learning are having it. Why I am emphasizing on curriculum is that we have to remodel our curriculum in such a way that it is adaptable to digital learning. It is adaptable to interactive learning. The students just don't have to work hard. They have to work smart and work hard. So is true of the teachers also. Analytical ability as well as memorization and retrieval of information. The students have to be trained in all three in this world. This world now requires instant answers. There are enough philosophical theories in the library. This is the first challenge I foresee. The second challenge I foresee is the teaching and the teaching tools. The teaching itself, I need not emphasize here the role of everyone knows about it. It's undisputed what it should be. But I want to caution the teachers that earlier, like it's a compulsive reflex action of a child to respect his parents. It was a compulsive reflex action to respect and revere one's teachers. Now the times are changing, now it's not. Like teachers evaluate the students, and perhaps they evaluate that the students by using softwares now or maybe on paper. The student also constantly evaluate the teacher in their own minds, and the parents are becoming very, very critical of any lapse because there's a reason for that. Earlier the education was almost free. As a percentage of a household expense, it was not even 5% cost. Now the parents, in their ambition, move 2 layers above their affordability in trying to educate their children. So it's like the child has become a product. I have no objection to that. It's a raw material and you have to bring out a product. Yes, product is a human being, it's not a machine calibrated product. But the parents are paying the institution and the teachers to load the child as we load our car. We say it's a fully loaded car. The parents expect that the child should be fully loaded because perhaps half of them are borrowing money to pay the fees, or half of them are cutting very fine with their domestic budget. So the expectations are very high. So teacher is now not as sacrosanct and as infallible as he or she used to be. He has to deliver. The teacher has to deliver. And deliver in not only qualitative terms, the teacher has to deliver in quantitative terms. So that's a very big challenge now. The days of incompetency and inefficiency will soon be the days of the past. People who get free education, perhaps by compulsion, very unfortunately have to make compromises. But people who pay for the product, you all know that. So we have to, the challenge is to have the teachers who have domain knowledge, teachers who have passion, teachers who have pedagogic competency, and the teachers who can deliver and earn respect, because now the respect is not reflex action. Now, teaching tools. As I said, that working hard alone is not the answer. Imparting education has to be a smart business. The classrooms have to be smart. We have to have digital libraries. We have to make our dissemination of knowledge and information more precise and accessible and interesting. It's a very big challenge. There's an attitudinal challenge coming from the students. All the libraries all around don't find a visitor now. We used to book space in the library so that we could get a seat to study there. It's a generation we're dealing with where 90% of the students don't wish to read a newspaper. We need to perhaps take them on to digital newspapers. Everyone has a WhatsApp and this, let us push general knowledge things, one thing a day rather than writing it on the blackboard in a conventional manner. So technology infusion in the process of teaching, to my mind, is another challenge. The third is, in your schools, perhaps it's not as problematic as in the schools of mass education, is ensuring attendance. I'm not saying attentiveness. That's a higher degree of proficiency that the teacher might have. Attendance. Again, there's a use of technology. You can use biometric devices and automatic softwares. Why should we waste 10 to 15 minutes in every class taking manual attendance? Let it take 2 minutes of punching and let the software go to the principal and a copy to the parent. Similarly, it's for the teachers. At the fag end of my career now, spanning almost 4 decades, even where we teach, we train the IAS officers and PCS officers and IPS officers and the Mahatma Gandhi State Institute of Public Administration. The moment I put CCTVs in the conference halls and the classrooms and monitor in my room, which I hardly switch on, I find there's a tremendous improvement in the quality of teaching and the quality of attendance and attentiveness. That means somewhere there is some deficiency in professional integrity, not only on the part of the trainees, but also on the part of the teachers. Now teachers have started, being on their legs and teaching. Otherwise they were sitting comfortably, half asleep, murmuring, sitting in the chairs itself. So I would say professional integrity is another challenge. And I don't single out teachers for that. I have the utmost respect for teachers. My grandfather was a professor in the university college. Punjab University, after the partition, had its university headquarters college at Kaushal. So don't misunderstand me when I say that professional integrity is a challenge. It is certainly a challenge elsewhere also, but since we are talking of education, I'm talking of teachers. It's more visible when the question of internal assessment comes into picture. Now, do you think software-based quantifiable assessment is a 100% substitute of assessment that a teacher can make on the basis of an eye-to-eye contact with the student? How do we evolve such softwares which take care of both the sides of the issue? Then the assessment. There are so many boards, there are so many testing authorities, they have their own standards. Even if there is one board dealing with billions of students, some examiner somewhere has a different yardstick, the other. So where is the equalization? My examiner may give me 80% marks, the same paper may go somewhere else and I may get 92% marks for the same paper. What do we do? How do we standardize the question papers? How do we standardize the desirable answers? And how do we standardize the process of marking and assessment? These are very big challenges. And then there is a challenge of leadership. Are we having a delegated, distributed and shared leadership? Or are we standalone leaders? Standalone leaders may be very successful. They hog a lot of line for themselves and for a short period for an institution. But standalone leaders do not build institutions in the long run, because the foremost duty of a leader is to produce a very illustrious successor and not to scuttle like we do mostly. Scuttle the instincts of anyone who is likely to be your successor because of your own inbuilt sense of insecurity. Let us produce a second-rung leadership, third-rung leadership. Similarly, let us produce future leaders amongst the student community. I know the challenge of social diversity. I know the challenge of caste, gender, language, and so many other challenges that are faced by the parents as well as the students. And all these challenges ultimately trickle down to the challenge of the management and the challenge of the teacher. So these are our education challenges. We can tackle these challenges by a composite, wholesome approach. And in the process, we must take whatever help the technology can offer. Technology is a tool. Technology at times is abused by your marketing executives as a fashion. Good as long as it's used also. So let us have smart schools, let us have smart teachers, let us have smart managements, let us have smart classrooms, Let us have smart curricula. Let us have smart assessment methodologies. And let us have a product which can carve his or her own place in a highly competitive world and doing well. That is our setup. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to do that.